thing is, in our themes, we can choose and say, if we have 1, 2, 3 themes, these are the themes we are going to focus on, yes. But we want to focus on these particular areas under these themes. So you can subdivide as much as you want. But at the end of the day, we want to agree on specific themes that we will leave here as the media lab, saying that these are the themes under which we work. However, we will also create flexibility as we work, that should you come across a very interesting story and you cover it, and you feel it doesn't sit within any of the themes, that is okay. And it's acceptable. And we will encourage you to do it. But as much as possible, we would love that if we have these specific themes, every now and then we can feed into those themes. But if you have a story that's outside those themes, that's fine. Okay? So that's what we are going to do. So when we come back and we share, the two groups will share our themes and what we've decided we want to cover. Okay? Then at that point, Sarah will take us into that second, which is the last session of that day. And the second session will be to look into the modalities. Okay? Because with modalities, we want to understand, okay, now if we leave here, we've launched our media lab today, what are we going to be doing? Of course, she will tell us, we need to set certain expectations, but we also need to agree on certain management modalities. How often are we going to be meeting? How are we meeting exactly? What will that mean? What timelines will we have? How can we call in? How can we collaborate? All these other things. Yeah? Because at the end of the day, we need that kind of administrative machinery. And Native is the one that's responsible for that. So she will be really giving us the direction, so that we are all attuned to what we are going to be doing. And at that point, we'll be able to do our group photo and launch our lab officially, and I think then call it a day. Is that okay?
Yes, okay.
Anyone with a question? I'm very clear. Ashraf. Now I'm inviting Ashraf to talk to us about something. You see, some of us, this could be our first time to interface and the like. But some of the colleagues here, we've already interfaced even before they were invited. Okay? So I met Ashraf actually, even when we had not officially started working with Native Voices. We were already interfacing with Ashraf because we had to go to the districts because there is some other work that's involved in this project. Okay? But we identified Ashraf and he's a wonderful guy. There is a lot to learn from him. And he has something that he wants to share with us, just to kind of build into exactly what it is that we are doing. You have the floor, Ashraf.
Yeah, thank you very much. You all know that I told you I'm from the Great Region, rather the Great Sub-region of Europe.
Uganda's Bavaria.
Exactly. Of recent, we managed to host the team from Wet Ribbon and Alliance, led by Dr. Lokodo, with Christine was around. I think everyone knows Christine. Maybe you can turn back and see who's Christine. People need to see you. You're always in the background. You should come and see. Okay. Because we've been working with you. This is Christine. What's that lady?
This way.
Yeah. So we interface with Christine. Actually, we were at the Bini Hotel Masindi, and Dr. Lokodo managed to give us the findings in the field. And that very day, we managed to move to Masindi Main Hospital. When we moved to Masindi Main Hospital, this is what we found there. We are going to play a video clip. Christy, you can go back to you. Maybe she will give a comment later. Yeah. So they are going to give us one of the clips when we went to the field. We managed to interface with the health workers. You can play the one of the video. Okay.
Continue.
Let's see. I also wish to know who are you? Yeah. Now, still, also college mothers are part of Muslim mothers. They are the new mothers. We realize that these are the mothers who congest maternity. So most of them with normally is at the other side. Then the first folks. Let's see. I also wish to know who are you?
Has it been repeated?
Now, still, also college mothers are part of Muslim mothers. They are the new mothers. We realize that these are the mothers who congest maternity. So most of them with normally is at the other side. Then the hospitals are covered with this week. And this considers some respect and respect the principle partnership across the board. This is not enough. We have not introduced their ones. We even want this unit to expand up the other end so that infection comes and even in between. You know, if we don't create space among the space, can cause problems with this and that matters. Can check, please. This is one of our
You can first talk about that. So what we are trying to say that after white ribbon coming in, because when you used to go to Masindi maternity ward, there was a lot of congestion. You find even mothers giving birth. So at the end of the day, when the white ribbon alliance came in and tried to sensitize leaders and people in the medical entity, they managed to create space for the mothers. Actually, they created 2 wards for the mothers. So they were giving such 2 appreciations, White Ribbon and Samantha, for doing that job. You can imagine all that time, all those decades. That hospital was built, I think, in 1924. But most mothers have been on the floor and so on. And I would like to thank White Ribbon and Samantha for the work you've done with it. There's a big change. And I was actually requesting them, when you come, you happen to come to Masina again, you'll see what they requested me. They want to meet you people. The medical department in Masindi. The work you've done. Mothers in Masindi are very happy with you people. We've been having leaders, we've been having so many things, but people will not recognize this kind of change.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See, Ashraf can talk about thanking White Ribbon, yes, and White Ribbon is also working in partnership. But one thing I said yesterday, and I would want really to bring it back here to re-echo the same sentiments, is that when this kind of feedback comes out, and when you hear positive feedback coming in and that people see change, that is not only the effort of White Ribbon. I can already say that our lab, the media lab, is already getting fruits out of the work. You see, Ashraf, is a bit modest to say that he's covering all this, and this is his personal initiative. We did not push him to go to the centers and whatever. This was after he really understood what we were doing, and then he's following up. But he's already part of the task force, okay? So what I'm saying is that when you have this personal drive and understand what it is that we are trying to do, sometimes your work takes on a form of its own. And that's what we want to see each and every one of our members within the Media Lab do. I mean, if this is one sharing, imagine if we all came back after 2 weeks and we had stories to share in their different forms. From the blogging community, we'll be able to see a lot of work. From the radio, they'll share with us the clips that have run. From the TV, from the print media. Even people who've decided to just say that, look, for me, and it can be as simple as that. For me, I decided to take my smartphone, if you're sure it has very good pixels and the like and sound, and I decided to go to a community where I spent 2 hours within a health center talking to the mothers, just trying to understand what needs that they have or what they expect. And I picked all those voices. I did one story out of them, but here is all the raw material. We need to have all this information come out. But most importantly, the right people should be listening to it. Because when they do, they get up. And we're not interested in stories that we do and then these people, the politicians, the councillors come down and cramp on nurses. No, that's not what we are looking for. We're interested in people who can say, this is a problem and we need to find a solution. And I'm telling you, all our work from an advocacy point of view should be focused on that. Show us a solution. And it should be demanding in a certain way. That when you write a piece, it should say, and I'm not saying those are the words, not verbatim, but I'm just saying it should have the sentiment that says, people of Uganda, people of Kamuli district, people of Kampala, people of this other district deserve better. They should have this and that and that. It's a bare minimum. And the responsible people should wake up and do the right thing. That is all. There will come a time when I'll give you things and I say, and it's going to happen maybe within the next 2 or 3 weeks, when I'll say, I want each one of us to take an initiative and come up with a very classical way of how we can send a message to Parliament. And for us, it would be good to understand what is it that we are going to send to parliamentarians. Are we going to do a pictorial presentation? Are we going to do a messaging session? What are we going to do? Because we would love that when these messages keep coming out, even the people responsible for those districts, the representatives, they get to know about them. Once they know about them, that's our ushering in to engage them. And we tell them that this is what we are doing. But we need more. And it's not only about Masindi. When I'm talking to an MP of Masindi, I tell them, yes, you have issues in Masindi, but the whole of Uganda has the same issues. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I'm asking you, if we are doing this little in Masindi and it's creating these waves, what would happen if 529 MPs stood up and they said, we need to do something about respect for maternity care in this country? Okay? That is how we begin to send and shift and push for an agenda with the people who make the decisions. You understand? Because it's so painful whenever you hear about Parliament, them being partisan. They never go through their parties to go to Parliament. Yes, they go, they put on colours and the like, but they come to Ugandans and ask for votes. I'm going to go, Mbasakire, I'm going to represent you. Okay, what exactly are you representing? Sometimes I say, if I ever had the opportunity to sit in front of His Excellency, I would only tell him one thing. Don't quote me. I would say this. As you know, sometimes I really see people struggling in this country to convince Ugandans to elect them in power.
Including himself.
Yes, but I don't have to tell him that. Otherwise, that interview might not conclude. So, then I will tell him. But for me, if I were a leader and I wanted to have the smoothest flow into a position of power, I would only do 2 things for Ugandans. Only 2. Okay, 3. 1, I would ensure that there is security. That one you able to do. Your excellency. Sometimes you have to use these things to boost.
Yeah.
And he does. You know, Uganda is one of the most secure countries in this world.
Yeah.
Very secure. You know? That's why we have all these influxes of refugees who just come here. They don't feel threatened. You think other countries can host the refugees that we do? Uganda right now, in the whole of Africa, is the country with the highest number of refugees. No single country in Africa even has half the numbers that we have. Go to the whole of West Nile, it's a refugee community now. Go to Chiriandongo, refugees. Come to Kampala and Central here. We are Eritreans, Ethiopians, whatever. Okay? We are such a beautiful country because we are secure. You understand? And the people of Uganda, you should clap for yourselves. You people, you are the most hospitable nation I know on this planet. You know, when you travel abroad, you get to appreciate other people and other cultures. There are people where countries where you go and they look at you and they're like, they don't have to say anything, but you don't feel welcome. I have a friend of mine who once studied in India, and he said he was in a certain region in India, and the children practically had to come and touch their skin because they have never seen a black person in their lives. Yet the funny thing is, in India, there are real black Indians.
Yeah.
Indians with dark skin. But this is a country that's really strict on castes. You belong where you belong. Here in Uganda, you go anywhere. You sit anywhere. You reside anywhere. So we are blessed. You understand? So I will tell the leaders, if you only focus on 3 things. Security is there. Work on infrastructure, but ensure education and health. If you do those things, Ugandans are not even going to bother you. You will come to them that it's the election time. They will say, for what? You just continue. For us, we are busy. If we have those things, a lot of things would change. If we have the best education system, if we have health, Ugandans are hardworking. Set up infrastructure that can help them to do better commerce, you're home and dry. But you see people struggling to convince people. They do a lot of things to convince people simply because they do a lot.
Mr. Mona,
Yes.
what if he tells you all the strategies going through, talking about, is it to make sure every sub-county has is it a health center, what all those political explanations that's where he's heading.
As a historian, looking back and
I wouldn't. For me, I wouldn't say no, because even right now, when you look at our systems in terms of health, the way the health system has been structured, with these health centers and the regional referrals and what, minus the fact that we would increase their numbers, because people have really tremendously increased. Even when you look at a health center you would say if we could have like 5 more of these in one district, it would make life easier. But when I go to a hospital, in terms of saying invest, I want to see a happy doctor. How many of us right now would really encourage our children to become doctors? Unless if you know they are going to work abroad. One thing that I can tell you personally, I can say without really any hesitation is, have you guys seen any of these social media videos that show all these young girls and boys being dressed in these hijabs and whatever, being on a daily? They are like in a pipeline of water being ferried out. A country is as strong as its people. When you want to see a strong forest, you have to see all these young trees in the millions of. Now what happens to a country that takes out its best energy reserve? All these people are very energetic. They would be here in Uganda doing a lot of things, which would impact the economy, which would increase commerce, which ultimately would turn into what? More revenue for the country in taxes and whatever. So what happens if they leave? You're depleting a country. Now, do not sit here and assume that people don't know this or don't see this. But why are they not giving a damn? And that for me is the concern. You get the point, eh? So we always have to build our themes in such a way that we are trying to ask, interrogate, and also convince. Okay? But not forgetting that we are targeting the decision makers because they have the power to decide. And for us, we set an agenda, we engage, and we participate with them to see if we can influence them. By the way, ultimately, our work is meant to influence decisions. Our work is meant to drive, okay? And like I said, numbers are very important. So when we coalesce together, that is very key. You've all seen what's now happening with the Vinci coffee deal. Why do you think there is a change of heart? Number one, the media has played its part. Bravo. The media has been on this, very, very busy. But the most important is this. Every person, every stakeholder, every power source has talked about this deal. Even a person who comes from an area where they don't grow coffee has had an opinion. And it hasn't been only the leaders there in the political system, as we will call it. Religious leaders have talked, farmers are talking, business community is talking, coffee dealers are talking, everyone is talking. Cultural leaders are talking. And as much as the powers that be exist, at some point, the pressure has to be there. And they say, we need to shift a bit. And sometimes that's what you need to do. Sometimes you just need to build an agenda and roll for others to catch on it. And once they do, you've done your part. Pull away. Let them take it. Just see what do they call it? This thing where you just hit one button and then... You've all seen Lego. I think it's called Lego. It's like a ripple effect. They put bricks, they are called small bricks, next to each other. And then you just knock one, and then there is that random effect. The whole thing starts to disintegrate. So sometimes that's all we need to do. I know you guys love the word light a fire at the forest gate and then walk away, you know? Yeah, sometimes that's what we need to do. So, I'm going to ask us to use numbers A and B, okay? So, you just go in random. We'll start here. A.
B.
A. Christine is A?
B.
Uh-huh.
B.
He's B. Someone will have to tell him. Okay? Okay, so me and Sarah will remain neutral because we'll have to interchange within the group. So, feel free at this point to say, I would really encourage us to get out of this room so that you can enjoy the oxygen out there. And then sit in your respective groups, A and B. We'll take about an hour. Within that 1 hour, I really want us to focus on two things. One, we are going to develop themes. Okay? First of all, develop as many themes as possible. And please, I encourage you, when you are in the group, encourage everyone to participate. Even if you see someone is just seated there enjoying the conversation, ask them and tell them, tell us what's going on in your head. Okay? Each group should have a leader. Ali, ensure that in your group there is a leader. There is someone who is taking the notes. Okay? And the leader should facilitate the group. What we are interested in is that think through different themes. Okay? A theme is something that is big enough to carry. Eh? For example, you can say, we want to do a story on services, respect to maternal care services. That is our theme. Okay? Because under there you're talking about a lot of things. You're talking about care, you're talking about procedures, you're talking about access to services, you're talking, yeah? Then you might also say, we want to do something about respect for maternal health charter or policies. And you say, that's a thing. We want to talk about health financing. Because from what we've heard, it seems hospitals are inadequate or they are under-facilitated. Let's talk about health financing. Don't stop your flow. For the first 15 minutes, just gather ideas. And then once you gather this basket of ideas, try to bring them into seamless. Try and say, okay, where do all these things belong? You could even begin off by just talking about things that you want to do, not talking about things. Feel free. And say, for me, I want to do a story on this. I want to do a couple of stories on this topic and this topic and this topic. Gather everything. But afterwards, begin putting them into baskets. Stwaule and yembe with the guavas and the tomatoes and yeah. At the end of the day, it will all come together when we are doing our meal. But for now, let's have a clarity in the fruits in the basket. You understand? So once you've created the themes, ask yourself as a group, do these themes apply to the different categories that we are talking about? By categories, I mean these, targets. Do these themes, can we do stories that target the political, up there, the leadership? And when I say up there, I mean national. Can we do stories in these groups, what we've talked about, that can go to the districts? We are targeting district leaders, councillors, and all the other people. Religious and cultural leaders. Do some of these issues touch the community? That I'm going to do a program, but it's going to be appealing to the community, to change their behaviors, to change their attitudes. I'm going to do a story targeting men, that men should be responsible and provide respect for maternity care for the women in that community, in district X. Okay? That we are going to appeal to our leaders to put ordinances that compel men to play their role. We'll define the roles later. You don't worry about that now. Someone is supposed to even tell you what the roles of men should be when a woman is expecting. The nurses will tell you, the leaders will tell you, and the like. But at least you're sure what you want. Okay? Because once we have all these categorized, we'll be able to develop these themes. And the last bit, after you've developed all the things and clustered them into themes, ask yourself, which according to these for us is top priority? Because sometimes when you do one thing, it can be an answer to 2 or 3 or 4 things. So you might have an activity you want to do here, but actually when you do this activity, indirectly it affects this activity. But you don't have to worry about that right now. What is important now is for you to say that for us, these things are top priority. And these ones can always be secondary. But these ones, I must. You get the point? And I make it deliberately not to write anything down for one simple reason. You guys are trained to listen. That's what you do, you're journalists. So you can listen and record everything. Is there anyone who did not understand the instructions? In case you have doubts, don't worry, because me and Sarah will be coming to the groups. Okay? For the brainstorming, you're clear on that. Just get any ideas that you have in your head and put them on the paper. And then at some point, we'll join the groups and give guidance if it's needed. But if it's not, I'll just come in a group, sit and listen and not say anything.
Are we going to rotate on respective maternity?
Everything is about this. So feel free at any point to come and look at all these issues. If you want to consult, go back to your group. Feel free if you want, before you go to the group, to come and look at this. Pick a few things before you go to the group. Okay? And it doesn't matter. If you feel like you want to go to the other group as an individual to consult someone, do so. If you want to call any of us that come and please clarify this for us, do so. This is not an exam. Okay? I can see she's extremely worried. When she puts on her face, she's laughing. This is not an exam. Okay? This is interaction, and we're just supposed to be doing brainstorming. When you brainstorm, the idea is let all your ideas in your head flow and let them out. So that's why I was saying we are not here to look at this is wrong, this is not right. So the first session when we meet, everyone, whatever desires that you have in your head, please put them down. Because there is no right and wrong. It's up to the entire group to make sense of our basket. And that's the beauty. Without a full basket, we can't work. we can't develop things. Okay? Enjoy your break, your group work. Group A, decide, your leader, decide where you want to go, as long as you are within the premises. Group B, do the same. And in 1 hour, we'll have to reconvene. Please be mindful of time, okay? Yes. Yes. You are in group what? Members of group A, can I see you? This gentleman belongs with you. What's your name? Muhammad is with group A. Those are some of your colleagues. And they can give you some of the information that you missed in this morning session. And yeah. Even if one is one, other ideas. So maybe what you might want to do, Christine, is engage them and tell them. Let them contribute.
They're not here to see these things.
What